I don't know, something about this one really speaks to my heart and I really like it.
Now wait, let's go back 2 days. I needed a logo and I paid 5 different designers, 5 different prices on Fiverr to make them for me. The whole range was pretty broad. It was from $5 to $10 to $25 to $50 to $100 to even $200. The logo they're making for me is for my website Enhance UI. I never made one and this is the perfect time. So what I did was open up my laptop, write up a quick brief and send it off to each one of these designers. It was the same for everyone. The brief had the bare essentials. It included what I wanted, which was a logo for a website called Enhance UI, and the target audience, which was developers learning to try and figure out design. The main aspects of that website include things like UI, UX, color, and typography. This is what they needed to get started. I also added in a couple of other things. Things like I wanted to have a dark theme with the primary color of blue, as well as giving them the freedom of choice to make the design however they like. After this, I sat back and waited for the results to come in.
Okay, we have our very first logo. We'll start off with the simplest one, which is the $5 one. Here, I'm not expecting too much. What I'm thinking is probably we'll get something which might be already pre-made and maybe they've just swapped out my name, but it's really hard to tell. We'll have to jump in and have a look. So I've actually put this here into Figma so we can zoom in and have a look. And this one is actually from, let's have a look here, Originalarts. He's done this just for $5 and put together the logo. And we can go through and have a look. So what I've mainly said is that I'm looking for a blue schema. So he has actually added in the blue color over there, but he's also gone with a purple. I did also mention that I wanted a dark theme, and over here I think if I scroll down we've got a dark version of that as well. First thoughts here is that I do like the font type. It's capitalized and nice and simple. The other aspect to that is that I do see the E coming across in here. So this sort of symbol here sort of looks like an E. So I'm guessing he's actually put a little bit of work into this to create a custom logo for me. If you actually have a look, it also looks a little bit like a sideways U, and like there's a little I in the middle. So that's really cool too. I'm actually impressed how he's combined the E, I, and U in there into like a little symbol and then sort of copied it across. So this logo has actually had quite a little bit of time and effort invested into it. If we take a look further across, we can see that there is one more example of this. And here is one with a developer style. Essentially what I can see here is it looks like there are 3 lines, sort of like inside code. And these 3 lines could maybe mean the E of the letter, or maybe they can mean EUI for Enhance UI, or maybe they're just a style choice. But from the light theme, I don't really like how the font is a little bit too small. I guess more focus is put in for the logo. But if we scroll down here and have a look at the dark version, I actually like the fact that for the dark version, these colors here, they actually stand out quite well. So I don't mind the color choices. Essentially, these are the logos we have got here for $5. And from a general point of view, I think this is worth way more than $5 and it's pretty good work. What do you guys think? Let's maybe jump in and have a look at the next one now. Okay, let's take a look at our next logo here. And this one here is a $25 logo from listypop. Listypop's done 2 main logos here for us. Let's take a look at both of them to see what they look like. So for Enhance UI, we've got this logo over here. The typeface is a little bit different this time. This time around, it does have a lowercase, but we've got the blue color coming in here with 2 different sort of tones or shades. The one here below is a little bit more saturated, while the one here above has a little bit more tint to it. And the other thing with this is we've got this logo over here, which is this colorful thing. And with this colorful icon, yes, the colors look really good. They're picked out really well. They have some overlap. But I don't really understand how this one is fitting into design and developers. From a design point of view, yeah, it kind of looks interesting. But the main purpose here is to talk to developers. So this design has to talk to the hearts of developers. And in this case, I feel like I'm missing something here. It doesn't really have any letters in here like Enhance or U or I. it doesn't really have any design aspects in terms of development. So for example, developers like code or like programming or just text like that where you have some symbolism in React, none of that is really coming across here. It just feels like this one is sort of a stock logo that was sort of whacked here. So for this one, I'm not that happy, but let's have a look at the other one because there are two options here. So the second option here is this one. So this one is pulling in the blue color, and this time at least the text for the main title as well as the text for the subtitle designed for developers both looks good because they're both a dark shade. And we actually do represent this as a book because it essentially is a book first for this course. So that's good for a logo. The other aspect to this though is that from a logo point of view, normally the logo is independent and the text is independent. Here it's sort of combined, so I can't have one without the other. I guess you could possibly just have the book as a standalone if I shrunk it down, but I'm just wondering how that would look like. Finally, in terms of the colors, we are using this dark blue color here, and while it's a good color, and I can imagine that it can inverse to just a white quite easily, it does feel like it's just kind of bland in terms of the fact that it's missing maybe some gradients or some other colors. So I'm not as happy with this one as maybe the one for the $5, which is really interesting that that $5 one came out so good. This one here, at least I can tell it's more custom than the very first option, so that's not too bad, and I'm pretty happy still with these results so far. Now we're moving into the more expensive category of $50 for a logo. I'm interested to see what we see here because I'm going to be hoping that these designs will end up a little bit more unique than just what we've seen before, with better colors and better design aesthetics in terms of what I'm trying to go for here for developers. Let's take a look. So this one here for the $50 category, we have Bill Al-Haider 23. And for his one, let's take a look at what he's created here. So we've got two different designs, both quite unique here. And I have to say that the very first one here, I do like quite a lot. It's playing on the letter E here for the design, and we have both a light theme and a dark theme. For this design, we have a few things happening. We've got this arrow going right, and we've got this other aspect to here where it's like a half arrow maybe at the top. And I guess this could be something like, if you have a look at it clearly, you can see the letter E is the first letter. Then you also have like a small letter U here sideways. And maybe this can be like the letter I. So it's combining those three letters in there again, which I really like. We also have this gradient happening here. So on the dark version, there's this white shade here on the left where we've got this teal shade on the right. And I think that makes this logo look way more interesting than if it was just a single color. We do have the same design aesthetic for the light theme. Unfortunately, the light theme looks like it's a little bit too light. It could have done a little bit better with maybe slightly darker colors here. But I really like this design aesthetic of being very, very clean and custom. It does feel like someone's put in the time and effort here to make something very unique. We also have the enhanced UI hidden away, sort of here at the top, but it's also part of the logo. So for example, if I was to shrink this logo down, I could probably get rid of that and it would still look good. Where if I was using this on a website or a book, I could actually still have this on there and that would look good too. Then we also have this visual over here for the actual logo and what it would look like as an app icon. And this is a nice extra touch, which I don't mind. Again, I feel like for the light version, it could do with a little bit more contrast. Like if this teal was a darker shade, that would look really good. But so far, I'm really happy with this. And we've got the little design for developers written here at the bottom. And I almost didn't notice that. Personally, I feel like that might be a little bit too small, especially when you zoom out. You'd have to really have this logo in nice and high resolution to be able to see that well. In most cases, logos are actually viewed from a distance. Let's take a look at this next two designs for logos. And this one is a little bit more different. It looks like there's a brain here with the left side maybe sort of showing off design and the right side showing off more logic or circuitry. And I can see how this might have some effect in terms of looking a little bit like it's designed for developers and melding the two halves of your brain together. We also have some nice typography happening here with a custom font. This font actually looks really cool. I like this font. We've got a little tiny logo here for the UI where they've added a background with the UI in the middle there. And I also like that quite a bit too. In terms of the alternative version for the light theme, that also looks really good. It seems that for this version anyway, the light and dark theme pretty much work perfectly, and so does the topography with the UI in there. Personally, I'm pretty happy with this one too. I do understand that maybe this logo isn't completely custom. It does look like maybe it was pulled together from pre-made assets, but I do like the fact that maybe they also created something a little bit unique in terms of maybe having this half brain like this and that, and actually matching it to the logo, because the logo is for developers looking to learn design, and the logo does represent that, so they've obviously picked a good one over here. So this is pretty good for a $50 category. So far, I'm really interested to see what the next level of Fiverr will provide us in terms of the quality of these logos, because so far I can see improvement. Okay, this brings us to the $100 section. I'm excited to see what we have here. These are probably going to be all custom made, and they're going to be good. Let's have a look. We've got this $100 section here from Gigblast, and he's put together 3 good logos here, and already I can see one that I really like. Let's have a look. So all of these are straight up for a dark theme, ready to go, and they've got unique typography for each one. The very first one is okay. I don't mind this one. It is pretty simple. And here what we have is Enhance UI with a small text here for design for developers. And what's happened here is there's a lot of effort being put into this UI bit here. So this UI looks like a completely custom U with a nice little curve here at the top. And the eye is essentially like a little paintbrush. So it's a really cool little letter styling here that's put in, and it's got this nice sort of very subtle blue gradient where it goes from like a light shade of the blue to a darker shade of a blue as you move up. And I really like this. The colors in terms of the white and the blue and the black just fit in perfectly. Personally, the only thing that I feel like I'm missing is maybe its own little independent logo. If this whole section was just this one logo with maybe an E at the front, that would look really cool. Let's move on and have a look at our very next logo. Let's move on and have a look at our next logo. And this is the one that I really liked. This one here. So this is playing on that Enhance UI, but turning the whole piece into a logo. And it's moving it a little bit sideways, so it's shifting your perspective of how you normally think, and I really like this. The little dot here on the eye is its own color, and this almost looks like a book as well, that's sideways. So here maybe is the bookshelf with this being the book here. And even if you shrunk this down, it could look really good just by looking like it's almost copy pasting. It's almost like a little mirror here. So this section and this section are sort of mirroring each other. And in terms of development, there's not that many development aspects moving into here, but in terms of just design and playing on the concept, I don't know, something about this one really speaks to my heart and I really like it. And finally, we have this one over here. And this one is more, I suppose, focused on being a little bit unique in terms of its topography. It's got this nice little color wheel that's happening on the UI aspect. And that's sort of fitting together with both the main title for Enhance as well as the subtitle here for Design for Developers. And from a general sense, like I like the fact that the fonts here and the lines on the color wheel are pretty much the exact same size in terms of its width, as well as all the letters in the UI as well. I feel like a lot of time and effort was put into the spacing for this. Even if we zoom in closer, I think we'll see that every single aspect of the spacing, whether it's here, here, or even here, is perfect. This has had a lot of time and effort invested into it, and it's a good logo as well. All three of these I can tell are really high quality, and for $100 I'm really impressed with the work that's done here. I still like this middle one the most, and if I was going to say, out of all the logos I've seen so far, this is probably one of my favorites. We're doing awesome, but let's double this number. Let's go to $200 logos. This is the highest level. This is the level where I'm going to be expecting great things, but we'll find out in a second. At $200, we've got Kyrechul451 doing this logo for us, and they've made 4 different versions of it. Let's take a look at them. Here they are, and so far I can see that they've basically created 4 main types of logos with just some basic text. I am using some text already for enhanced UI, and it looks like they've just copied over mainly the text, but they've tried to create more of a flat, unique logo in there, trying to incorporate some of these things. But so far, let's start reviewing them and having a look. So this one first, it is a little bit of a, it actually reminds me a little bit of a neuromorphism, in the sense that we've got these strong shadows happening on dark backgrounds with dark text. We do have a slight bit of a blue happening here, but it almost feels like it's a little bit too light, and the contrast between the background and the actual text itself feels like it's not strong enough. Then we do have the icon here to the left, and I can see a few things happening here on the icon. If you just look at it quickly, it does look like it's this sort of backwards E, but if you look closely, you'll see that this is actually the cutout of an E. So the real E is actually existing here on the left, and it's the cutout of that inside of the box with the UI next to it. So it's sort of like that if you have a look at it. Personally, I feel like this is a little bit almost too hard to visualize. From a design point of view, I feel like it's missing a little bit of color here. I think that a little bit of color could have gone a long way. And in terms of the structure of the logo, I'm not sure how well this talks to developers and designers. I feel like this could have had a little bit more thought and time made to make it a little bit better. Even if I scroll in here just a little bit more, we'll see that the logo is just a tiny bit higher than the text, so it's not fitting in exactly the same, whereas the UI feels a little bit squashed there, and it's also not aligned to the top of that E. It's just coming out a little bit higher here, as you can see. So it just feels like it's all a little bit out of place, unfortunately. So I'm not that happy with this first option here. Let's move on and have a look at the second option. So the second option, we're using the same typography here, so it's these capitalized fonts, and I'm still not exactly a fan of this lettering per se. I think that the previous instance did a little bit of a better job in this case, but we do have a different logo here on the left with this E, and with this E it sort of looks like it is a design of the E that we had for enhance. I guess it could be a U as well, but it's hard to tell. It just feels like the 2 cutouts here sort of make it look like it was a quickly cut out job. I don't know, I'm just not that happy with this one in particular. It looks like it was rushed a little bit. And this last option here, let's take a look at it. It's essentially enhanced UI with different typography. So for this typography, it's much lighter. The font weight is like 200 here. And we've cut out a little bit of each section here. So I suppose this is more to give it a more futuristic look. But from having a look at it from a distance, or if this was for a book to be seen from far away, it's actually kind of hard to write. And the shadowing is a little bit too subtle, with the font colors still a little bit too light for me to be able to really see. So I'm actually not that really happy with the $200 option. The $100 option did like a great job in comparison to this, so it's really interesting to see. Of course, every developer, every designer has their own style, and this just might be the unique style for this designer per se. Okay, these were some really cool logos. I have to say that we got a little bit of everything happening here from a mix of different people. And from all of these, I have to be honest with you that some of the thoughts here that really surprised me are, for example, the $5 logo. The way that they described the E, U, and I in there, I feel like a lot of extra thought was put in there that I probably would not have considered for a $5 logo. That's really cool. And I like the fact that they really consider the fact that this is for developers, so I get a little bit of that developer symbolism happening in there. For the $25 logo, that is okay. It's nothing special. It's not one of my favorites, but the $50 logo, I can definitely see more time and effort was applied there. The $100 one, that is definitely my favorite one. This one in the middle here. I was so impressed with that. I love the color selection. I love the way that it looks and feels. It's just my favorite in general, and it still speaks to me. And finally, the $200 section, I wasn't particularly in love with. I think that this gives you a good idea of how it's really important that if you are jumping onto Fiverr, it might be a good idea just to get a branch of different people trying out the same bit of work, because you might be surprised at the results. I know that I am.
Okay, what did you guys think of today's video? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.